What's up guys, and welcome back to the F1 Ultimate Career. It's been a long time since I last said that, but yeah, seeing as this series has sort of dragged on a little bit longer than I expected, and obviously, you know, I've had other series going on as well, I thought, you know what, this series deserves a good send-off. So what I've done is I've combined all of the European races into this video. So we have got from Canada, ironically not in Europe, all the way up to Italy. So where we left off last time was in Monaco, and as you can see, Fernando Alonso has got a massive gap up at the top of the driver's standing. So our challenge is to try and close that down. Roman Grosjean is actually his closest challenger, and he is 44 points behind after just 6 rounds of the season as well. So you can see there we are down on 47 points. Not too far behind Grosjean, but a long way behind Alonso. There you can see Ferrari hold a 31-point lead over McLaren in the Constructors' Championship. I'm the only driver that scored for Williams so far, so without further ado, let's get into the first race. Fernando Alonso stuck it on pole here for the Canadian Grand Prix. We are sitting in P10, so not a great qualifying by any stretch of the imagination, but 5 red lights are out, and away we go here for the Canadian Grand Prix. This one is actually a full 50% race. The rest of the ones you will see will be 5-lap races. But anyway, going into turn 1, you can see we've got quite a poor start there, but managing to hold our P10 and then sticking it down the nose, down the inside of the nose of Hülkenberg. And also, you know, managing to get it up into P9 past Perez. Then we managed to get past one of the Lotuses, Kimi Raikkonen, up into P8 before trying to eye up Roman Grosjean. But Grosjean made a move on Webber at the end of lap 1. Webber was very much out of shape, and we managed to get up into P7. We were actually running with the medium tyres for that first stint of the race. You know, seeing as we didn't set a lap in Q3, so yeah, we were out on the super soft tyres for the second stint, and we actually emerged out in P10, so that actually hindered us a little bit. But as soon as we got onto these super soft tyres, you can just see how many overtakes we were making. We made one there on Kimi Raikkonen, then on Roman Grosjean next up, before going down the inside of Nico Rosberg, before then going down the inside of Nico Hülkenberg, who was having a fantastic race. We had a great battle with him there into turn 1 and 2, but managed to go around the outside with the superior grip, and then going down the inside of Lewis Hamilton up into P4 as we were passing some back markers on lap 22 of the Grand Prix. And then you can see a massive collision with Paul di Resta, who was actually a back marker at the time. He went completely into Felipe Massa. Fortunately for Jenson Button, he avoided it, but we got passed again by Massa at the end of the race. But we did manage to finish in P3 nonetheless, and a pretty good start to proceedings, I think you will agree. So yeah, as I mentioned, that one was a 50% race, whereas the rest will just be 5-lap races. But here's what it did to the drivers standing. So Fernando Alonso, who I believe managed to win the race in a Ferrari 1-2, he extended his lead, and he has got pretty much double the points of anyone up there in first place. We managed to move into a tie for second with Sergio Perez, but yeah, let's see what we can do in the next round. So next up, it was our home race at Silverstone. There was rain forecast for the weekend, and although the weekend did start off dry, as we got into the race, it was intermediate conditions for this 5-lap race. Jenson Button put it on pole at his home race. We managed to only manage P16 with our teammate, Sam Bird, also British, starting 16th. So we actually got a reasonably decent start, you know, managing to hold P9, but as we go towards Luffield and yeah, just this section of the circuit through Brooklands, and now as we go through Luffield, we managed to get it up into P7 past Webber as well as Massa. So Massa, someone that we are battling in the championship, and we are really getting our elbows dirty. Obviously, it's a short race, so we've got to make up as many positions as possible, and that's exactly what we did there with Nico Rosberg, almost scaring him out of P6. Then you can see Lewis Hamilton, the home favourite, just ran off the road through Maggots and Beckett's in these treacherous conditions. So where he succumbed P5 to ourselves, and that unfortunately was all we could do for the race until the final corner, when we slipped past Jenson Button, who had some problems. Obviously he started on pole position, but it was Sebastian Vettel who took victory in the race. We could only manage P4, but still managing to gain that position at the final corner was pivotal for us. So P4, not too bad whatsoever in that sense. But unfortunately, it was P2 for Fernando Alonso, who once again extended his lead. Sergio Perez also outscoring ourselves, so we were down into P3 with a lot of ground to make up. as we went to the Nurburgring. Here we go then, the Nurburgring, a circuit which has its first appearance in the Ultimate Career today, believe it or not. We didn't race there in 2011, so now as we go to the 5 red lights, as we line up on the grid, once again it was another pole for Fernando Alonso. We managed to get our car into P6, obviously isn't great in qualifying trim, as you can tell, but as we go down into the first corner, it was very much a melee as we go into the hairpin, which is always a recipe for disaster in a Formula 1 race, but still we managed to hold our P6, and as we go into the sweeping left-hander, which sort of continues all the way around until it sort of doubles back on itself, we actually managed to make up 2 positions up into P4, getting past Mark Webber, and Alonso actually lost 2 positions, so he was down into P3, and at the start of lap 2 we tried to take advantage of that, almost running him out of road, but fairly getting past him for P3, and that is exactly what we needed to do. Unfortunately, we didn't really have the pace to chase after Sebastian Vettel in P2, but here you can see on the final lap of the race, Fernando Alonso is trying to come for us on the inside into the final chicane, but he doesn't manage to get past. We hold our own, brake late, and as Felipe Massa won the race for Ferrari, his teammate was behind us, and that meant that we could take P3, and yeah, 15 points compared to Alonso's 12, only a small amount, but that was the first step in trying to get ahead of him in the Drivers'. Talking of the Drivers' Championship, you can see there on your screens now that obviously we go up into P2 ahead of Sergio Perez, and the fight back is most definitely on. Next up, we were at the Hungaroring, obviously plays host to this weekend's 2017 Grand Prix. But yeah, here we are in a 2013 universe, and it was another all-Ferrari front row. This time it was Felipe Massa that took pole, fresh off his victory at the Nurburgring. We once again had a pretty poor qualifying down in P12, not even managing to get into the top 10 shootout, but going into turn 1, a big opportunity to make up places here in Hungary. And we were pretty much unopposed on the inside of the track, trying to use our curves to get up into the top 8, and we pretty much managed to do that. As you can see, Lewis Hamilton on our inside, but as we come out of turn 2, a little bit of contact, but we still do manage to get ahead of the Mercedes man up into P8, and yeah, it was a circuit that we struggled at, but Alonso and Vettel were very much struggling at the end of lap 4. You can see there, they just ran each other off the track, as I'm not quite sure who was trying to overtake who, but it ended in disaster, and yeah, that was, you know, a gift for us up into P6. Another victory though for Felipe Massa, as you can see, Alonso and Hamilton coming to blows out of the final corner. And boy, that was a dirty race for Fernando Alonso, not managing to keep his nose clean whatsoever. So yeah, very disappointing for him, but obviously he does hold that lead at the top of the standings, and he did though drop another position, and Lewis Hamilton managed to finish ahead of him. So yeah, Felipe Massa is now his closest challenger after 2 victories on the spin. We though are sitting in P3, and the gap to Alonso is 58 points, more than 2 race victories, as we go to the famous race in Spa. As I mentioned then, Spa-Francorchamps played host to the next round of the championship. So just 2 races to go in this episode. But as you can see on the grid, once again, Fernando Alonso took pole position. We were down in P8 after a wet qualifying, it was, I believe. Our teammate once again down in P16. Disappointing that he hasn't scored any points yet this season. But as we go into the famous La Source corner, it's seen some pretty crazy starts in the previous years in Formula 1, but fortunately we managed to keep our nose clean and actually take a wide line, which very much worked out. Although we lost 1 position initially, we actually managed to gain a net 2 positions as we got up into P6, and we're then chasing Sebastian Vettel down into the next section of corners in Les Combes, and we managed to actually dispatch of him up into P5, and Lewis Hamilton there you can see going slowly and almost slowing us down, and now we're sort of boxed in on the outside, but we do manage to get it ahead of the British driver into P4, and then it was chasing down the Ferrari of Felipe Massa. He has been on fire recently, but he could do nothing for us getting past him into Blanchimont and up into P3, and next up it was his teammate and our championship rival Fernando Alonso. We had to get past him if we have any chance of catching him in the standings, and we do manage to do so. Massa though did manage to get back ahead of Hamilton, who passed him at the same time as I did. So that was key for the Ferrari guys. And now you can see the final lap of the Grand Prix. We went purple through Sector 2. And we've got just a couple of corners to get past Jenson Button. Are we going to be able to do it? As we go into the bus stop chicane, we take the outside line. We've been pushed off. But we do manage to get past our fellow Brit. Just about keeping it within the track limits. And compromising his line out of the final corner. We don't have any curves left. But it doesn't matter. Because we power to victory. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is possibly our first victory of the season. It's been that long since I actually raced in this series that I can't even remember, but that one is big for the championship. And yeah, very, very good, as you can see, moving up in the world in the drivers' standings. And also, we're going to take a look at the constructors in a minute. There we go. You can see it on screen now. And just look at 4th, 5th and 6th. So we've got Mercedes, Lotus and Williams all tied on points at the moment. Ferrari are absolutely running away with it, and rightly so. But yeah, let's see what happened in Italy. Monza is of course the home of the Tifosi, and the Ferrari faithful were hoping for a Ferrari victory and for Fernando Alonso to extend his championship lead. He did exactly what he needed to do on Saturday, putting it on pole. We only managed P7, although we were only actually 1/10 of a second off pole, which was crazy. But as you can see, running down to turn 1, again, just like Belgium, it is a recipe for carnage as we go into the first corner. So we took it pretty easy, initially losing 2 positions, but as we managed to sort of thread our car through, we actually ended up in P7 before getting squeezed out by Rosberg and then being passed by Vettel as we go through the Curva Grande. You can see there Sergio Perez getting out of shape, so we were trying to take advantage of him and Rosberg, sort of lifting off the throttle there in order to go down the inside. We also get past Perez's teammate Jenson Button and up into P4. I'd definitely call that a successful start, but it's not a successful start for Lewis Hamilton or indeed Fernando Alonso, who have come to blows. There's that's twice in the space of 3 races that has happened. So we take advantage of that, and also advantage of Felipe Massa as the DRS was activated on lap 3. But he managed to get back past us in the next DRS zone on lap 4. But as we go into the final lap of the race, we just had to try and pass him. And you can see they're getting very out of shape. The rear end almost sent us, well, did send us off the circuit. But as we go now into the second chicane, Massa going very slowly on the inside. We take advantage, say thank you very much. Take P1. And then he, as we go into the Ascari chicane, that was his final chance. And he really does bottle it. As we know, the AI sort of back out a lot. And that meant that he lost P2 to Rosberg. But we take victory in Ferrari's backyard. They will not be happy with that whatsoever. P1 and back-to-back victories. We very much have the momentum as we go into the flyaway races, and there you can see we are catching up with Alonso. We're just over a race victory behind him, but 147 points to his 175 is looking a lot better than it was at the start of this episode. Yeah, you can pause the driver's standings if you do want to take another look at it, but there is the constructors' standings. Ferrari pretty much clinched the constructors' standings already, but we are up there in P4, not doing too badly. But guys, that caps off today's video. I hope you did enjoy it. Leave a like if you did, and next week I will be recapping the flyaway races from this season before we leave the final 2 races, which will be just like standard episodes, I guess. But yeah, until then guys, do take care. Bye bye.